the Assemblage in New York on the east side. I think it's, what's the address here? It's
114 East 25th Street.
114th, and you see the URL there, the link, so you can check it out. But I'm here with the founder of the Assemblage, Rodrigo Nino, and we're actually going to introduce something to you in a series of these videos, and it's called The Game of Life. And we're going to invite you to participate in the Game of Life when we launch it, but this is just a little teaser. So as you know, all of you know that I have been very interested in the phenomenon of synchronicity. We call it synchrodestiny, in Spanish syncrodestino. How do you harness the power of synchronicity with intention and ultimately with manifestation, or what we call spontaneous creativity and spontaneous fulfillment of desire. And in that whole framework, there's a very important understanding of what Carl Jung called archetypes. So let me give you a very brief introduction to archetypes. Archetypes are symbols of expanded states of consciousness. So they are concentrations of psychic energy, and they are basically part of our spiritual inheritance. There are archetypes in every system, spiritual system, whether it's Greek spirituality or Greek mythology or Vedic mythology or Egyptian mythology or the mythology of indigenous people all over the world. So archetypes symbolically represent possibilities, infinite possibilities, but along a certain motif, a theme, a storyline. And one of the ways to access archetypes since ancient times is through oracles. You know, the Oracle of Delphi, oracles in Egypt. And one of the most famous methods of accessing archetypes is what is called the I Ching, Tao Te Ching. And so Rodrigo, who's the founder of the Assemblage, has actually accessed a new methodology for accessing archetypes for higher consciousness, expanded awareness, and ultimately getting in touch with your true purpose of why you are here on this planet, not only to fulfill your own personal desires, but actually tap into the collective consciousness, the archetypal symbols of infinity, to manifest not only your dreams, but ultimately your highest purpose. What is your contribution to this planet? So with that, tell me what you're thinking.
Thank you for that amazing intro, Deepak. Yes, as you know, I was diagnosed with metastatic melanoma cancer 7 years ago, and when that happened, I went to the jungle in Peru to explore with ayahuasca. And effectively, what ayahuasca does is that it fosters this mystical experience, and in the mystical experience, you find therapeutic benefit, like the removal of the fear of death that I was obviously experiencing based on that horrible disease. It not only helped me with the fear of dying, but it also showed me that the mystical experience, like we talked last time, feels more real than reality itself, and it defines your notion of home, and it shows you that everything is interconnected in what you may call the oneness. But it also shows you that we are addicted to scientific proof and secular validation, because when you experience these radical inner truths that you cannot necessarily demonstrate in a traditional way, it presents itself as a lie, if you think about it, what you experience, because you cannot validate it in traditional ways. But it is so intense, and it feels so real to you that it makes you decide what methodology you follow, one of secular validation or experiential knowledge. So I chose the experiential knowledge probably because my situation in this reality was very dire. But in that experiential knowledge, I came across the fact that I saw what people call sacred geometry. In sacred geometry, we know, or geometry is a visual expression of mathematics. So if you are in the unknown of the mystical experience, if you wish, and you see this geometry with a number behind it, and you are part of the experience, then you can conclude that you also may have potentially a number that defines you.
Where you fit in the jigsaw puzzle.
Exactly.
Of existence.
What is your place, in the universe, and what is your code, if you wish.
Yeah. As I've said many times to my friends, there are no spare parts in the universe.
No.
And each one of us has a unique contribution to make.
Yes, and you feel, that if it's very secular, if you think about it, if there's the sacred geometry, which is a visual expression of mathematics, and everything has a dot, connecting to everything there is, and you are part of that too, so then you must have a code. So I started analyzing what that could be, and I looked into the I Ching, and then I looked into a new iteration of the same called human design, and finally I came across what really hit home for me, which is the gene keys. The gene keys are, I would say, what present a number that you have that is defined at birth. That is when you put, for example, in the system your time of birth, your place of birth, and it gives you that number on which energy incorporates into matter. And obviously this is very far out there for many people, we understand that. But with that number, which is a collapsed number, once you unfold it, it presents the realm of possibilities of your life at the intersection with free will. And the easiest way to test it, remember that I'm an economist, so when I run into these numbers after a couple of years of extensive research, the first thing I did was validating the story that was presented upon me against my past experience. And it was amazing to see how many revelations came up to help me understand even the experiences that I had, that I was taken for granted, that I couldn't necessarily process before and understand. So in the context of this mirror of your experiences of your life, you can understand yourself better. And then once you can surrender to the fact that they may help you understand the experiences of your past, you can then look in the future and see how it presents, all the possibilities that there can be. And the interesting thing is that, for example, to find your purpose, it shows you if you act on low frequency, that is to say with selfishness, where you would land. And then if you raise your frequency, if you go higher, if you can be extraordinary, if you can start realizing that service is all there is to achieve individual fulfillment, and that we're living in this society, that is proving that it's negative polarity disguised of positive polarity is leading us nowhere, So you will see how that expression of possibility at the intersection of free will may end up being your higher expression. But then we don't have the intellectual capacity to process something like that, again, because of our addiction to secular validation that turns us into masters of self-limitation. So what happens is that you need to surrender to the experience to achieve experiential knowledge. But that is to play it as a game of life. So we created a game of life. We're not pretending, that this is the truth. It is not. It is just a game of life. And we need to understand it like that. But I also believe that we came to a point where we need to incorporate imagination in our life to understand what is happening in the material world. And what better than having it, with magical lights that can help us step into the shoes of our higher expression.
So I did my own keys, and I got my number was 50/3 or whatever that means. but the theme was cosmic order. Now, I've been talking about this for a long time to all of you, that if we reached a critical mass, say 1 billion people or more, that could move in the direction of personal transformation, that would automatically translate into social transformation, and that critical mass might help us move in the direction of a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier, and joyful world. So for me, that was validation of what I've been thinking for a long time. So if you are interested in the game of life, send me an email personally if you want at info@jayo.com. So once again, info, I-N-F-O, at jayo, J-I-Y-O.com. Check out the URL here and all the links provided here, because Rodrigo and I are going to work together to bring this game of life to all of you, and we hope ultimately to engage at least 1 billion people in the game of life and work in this amazing project that unfolds your greatness. But when you unfold your greatness together with everyone else, you transform the world. And if we don't do it, we're ready for extinction anyway. And the universe will say, well, the human species was a good experiment that didn't work. Let's not make that happen. Rodrigo, anything else? Because I want to parse this out in little pieces so people have time to digest. But by September, we should be able to launch the game of life, right?
Absolutely. We're going to be launching it in September. So you can go to the Assemblage.com, and there you can find information about the game of life, preliminary information. You can even get an initial overview of your gene keys that we're developing in collaboration with Richard Rudd, and author of the gene keys. And we're very excited about this because we may as well be creating this game as a new iteration of the simulation of the life we're living in right now. And the interesting thing is that this new one, will be of positive polarity. That is to say, at the service of others to achieve your own well-being. So we may not have had the opportunity to choose the simulation we're living in now, but we may be able to choose, the simulation that we're going to be living next.
The simulation that we have right now, we inherited. You're born into an interpreted world, and it's already interpreted for you. So what you experience as everyday reality is a very thin sliver of perceptual experience, beneath which is the vast ocean, infinite ocean of consciousness that gives you access first through these archetypes into the realm of spontaneous creativity, love, compassion, joy, equanimity, loss of the fear of death, and ultimately that divine discontent that we all have in us because we haven't actually tapped into the full potential of our greatness. So check all these links out, and I and Rodrigo are going to work together at the Assemblage to bring this information to you. Till next time, Ari Pidarchi, as they say. Goodbye.
Good
See
luck.
you again.
Thank you.
Bye.